In the scorching heat of the Roman Colosseum, thousands of gladiators were brutally slaughtered for the entertainment of the masses, their screams and pleas for mercy drowned out by the deafening roar of the crowd. The Roman Empire, often romanticized for its grandeur and architectural achievements, was in reality a behemoth of brutality, where the value of human life was mere currency to be spent at the whim of the elite. Behind the imposing facades of the Forum Romanum and the Pantheon, a dark underbelly of corruption, violence, and oppression seethed, waiting to strike. The Roman people, supposedly the epitome of civilization, were in fact complicit in the horrors that took place in the very heart of their city. As the empire expanded, so did its taste for blood and conquest, with Roman legions ravaging the countryside, leaving in their wake a trail of destruction and despair. The once great city of Carthage, for example, was reduced to rubble, its inhabitants sold into slavery or butchered in the streets, a grim testament to the Roman penchant for annihilation. The Roman war machine was a formidable force, driven by a ruthless desire for domination, and its campaigns were often marked by atrocities that would make even the most hardened warriors blanch. The Roman historian, Tacitus, wrote of the Roman campaigns in Britain, where entire villages were put to the sword, their inhabitants slaughtered without mercy, and their homes reduced to ashes. But the horrors of war were not the only darkness that stalked the streets of Rome. The city was also a hotbed of corruption, where the ruling elite used their power to exploit and oppress the masses. The Roman Senate, supposedly the bastion of wisdom and governance, was in reality a den of thieves and charlatans, who used their positions to amass wealth and power, while the common people struggled to survive. The Roman Emperor, Caligula, was notorious for his extravagance and cruelty, using the imperial treasury to fund his own twisted desires, while the people of Rome struggled to make ends meet. His reign was marked by a series of bizarre and brutal edicts, including the infamous decree that all Romans must worship him as a living god, demand that was enforced with brutal efficiency. The plight of the common people was further exacerbated by the Roman system of patronage, where the wealthy and powerful used their influence to exploit and manipulate those beneath them. The Roman client-patron system, where individuals would offer their loyalty and services to a wealthy patron in exchange for protection and support, was a euphemism for blatant exploitation, with the poor and vulnerable forced to rely on the whims of their betters for survival. This system perpetuated a cycle of debt and dependence, with the poor becoming increasingly beholden to their patrons, and the wealthy using their power to crush any opposition. The Roman obsession with spectacle and entertainment also played a significant role in the darkness that pervaded the city. The Roman Colosseum, that iconic symbol of Roman power and engineering, was in reality a charnel house, where thousands of innocent people, including gladiators, prisoners, and even Christians, were butchered for the entertainment of the crowd. The Roman games, which included such delights as bear baiting, lion hunting, and gladiatorial combat, were a reflection of the Roman fascination with violence and bloodshed, and the willingness of the Roman people to indulge in the most depraved and sadistic forms of entertainment. The Roman poet, Martial, wrote of the games, "The crowd cheers, the crowd laughs, the crowd is entertained, and the crowd is satisfied," a chilling testament to the Roman appetite for blood and spectacle. As the Roman Empire continued to expand, its darkness only deepened, with the Roman people becoming increasingly decadent and corrupt. The Roman Emperor, Nero, was notorious for his love of music and poetry, but also for his brutality and extravagance, using the imperial treasury to fund his own artistic pursuits, while the people of Rome struggled to survive. His reign was marked by a series of disastrous policies, including the infamous Fire of Rome, which he blamed on the Christians, and used as a pretext to launch a brutal persecution against them. The Roman historian, Suetonius, wrote of Nero's reign, "He was a monster, a tyrant and a madman who brought ruin and destruction to the Roman Empire. The darkness that pervaded ancient Rome was not limited to the actions of its rulers, but was also reflected in the everyday lives of its people. The Roman family, supposedly the bedrock of Roman society, was often a dysfunctional and violent institution, where women and children were treated as little more than chattel, and where domestic violence and abuse were commonplace. The Roman philosopher, Seneca, wrote of the Roman family, "The Roman home is a place of violence, a place of cruelty, and a place of oppression, where the strong prey on the weak, and the vulnerable are crushed by the powerful." The Roman concept of paterfamilias, where the father was given absolute authority over his family, perpetuated a cycle of patriarchal dominance, with women and children forced to live in fear of their male overlords. As the Roman Empire finally began to crumble, its people were left to confront the darkness that had haunted their city for so long. The once mighty legions, which had once been the envy of the world, were now nothing more than a shadow of their former selves, corrupt, decadent, and ineffective. The Roman people, who had once been the masters of the world, were now forced to live in fear of the very barbarian hordes that they had once conquered. The Roman Empire, which had once been the epitome of civilization, had finally succumbed to the darkness that had haunted it for so long, leaving behind a legacy of bloodshed, violence, and oppression that would haunt the world for centuries to come. And so, as the last remnants of the Roman Empire faded into the dust of history, the darkness that had driven it to greatness, and ultimately to destruction, remained, a haunting reminder of the horrors that can be perpetrated by human beings when they are driven by ambition, greed, and a lust for power. The shadows that had haunted the streets of Rome for so long continued to stalk the world, waiting to pounce, and to unleash their darkness upon an unsuspecting world, a chilling reminder that the lessons of history are never truly learned, and that the darkness that drove the Roman Empire to destruction is still with us today, waiting to strike.